Hi, I'm Mayor Tim Lowry. Welcome to another edition of the Mayor's Minute. We're here today with former Missouri State Senator and longtime friend Tim Green. Tim, welcome to the show. I really appreciate you stopping by. Senator Green is the city's political consultant in Jefferson City. Welcome, Senator Green, and kind of tell us what's going on in Jeff City and the legislative session we know just got over, and what we're looking for going into this year and next year.
Yes, the legislative session ended the second Friday in May. They passed a close to $36 billion budget. So people have an understanding. I always say the legislative session's like a college semester, 16 weeks with the spring break, starts in January, ends the middle of May. Probably one of the biggest things that happened that affects municipal government was the creation of online sales tax. Online sales tax is basically become a industry issue. A lot of people buy their products online, and when you do that, you don't pay a sales tax. But if you go to the Target or any other store in the city of Florissant, you have to pay the state sales tax and the city sales tax. That puts the retailers at a competitive disadvantage. So this year, Missouri was one of two states who had yet passed an online sales tax issue to make the field a little more level. When they pass that, now it'll be up to the city to pass a use tax. This law will go into effect January 1st, 2023, and Missouri will be in line with all the other 49 states that have passed it. And people always say we have enough taxes. Well, in this bill, there is a reduction that municipalities can charge on their video tax fee, which was roughly about 5%. Now it'll go down to 2.5% over a period of about 5 years. And at the same time, there is a reduction eventually in the state income tax, which is currently at about 5.4% of gross earnings. It will lower eventually after a few dollar amounts are hit down to 4.8. So there is a reduction to offset the increase as well.
And of course, this is kind of commonly referred to as Wayfair, is what the bill's referred to. And of course, for the city of Florissant, we've put that use tax on the ballot before, has not passed. But I think part of the problem is I don't think people totally understood what exactly they were voting for at the time. But if we do not pass this use tax, then the city will never be able to collect that money. And all of our small businesses, and like you said, our retailers, will be at a total disadvantage to those people that are purchasing online. And so it is important for us to pass that use tax. And I know that the Missouri Municipal League and the St. Louis County Municipal League is going to do a campaign for this, and looks like we're going to put that on the ballot in April of next year.
That's good. And to reissue the ideas, it is more an equity issue for businesses than any other thing, because your retail outlets, your storefronts in your city, those small businesses that you like, they're at a competitive disadvantage to online sales. And you do want your storefronts to have occupancy. This is the way to make sure that those businesses can compete fairly.
Oh, absolutely. So it's definitely an important issue, and it's something that really in the next year, I know our residents are going to hear a lot about through this office and the Municipal League, and certainly our council members also. So I appreciate you updating us on that bill. So what else is happening in Jeff City?
Well, the other big thing was a gas tax. There will be, over the next 5 years, a increase of 2.5 cents a year over 5 years. The total in 5 years will be 12.5 cents increase. We currently have a state gas tax of 17 cents a gallon. We are one of the lowest in the United States. As you can see, it'll eventually bring, when it's at 12.5 cents, a new $500 million a year. Missouri is in the center of the United States, with more of these logistics and distribution centers popping up. Anywhere you drive, you're seeing more and more trucks on the road. Centrally located, and plus with your online sales that have increased, we need the infrastructure for an economic development tool. So this will begin in October, and then the second 2.5 cents then will kick in July and generate a lot of revenue. Fortunate in North County, there's a lot of infrastructure investment right now along the 270 corridor. One of the reasons for that is with the distribution and with Illinois, that 270 corridor keeps you and gets access to Interstate 70 for a lot of that distribution. So as you can see, that infrastructure is getting spent, and I think you're going to see a lot more infrastructure dollars spent on the interstates throughout the state, 44, 55, and Interstate 70. Interstate 70, if you drive it as much as I do going back and forth to Jefferson City, years ago the only time you'd see Interstate 70 pack is going to the Lake of the Ozarks on a Friday. That traffic is there 7 days a week. So that is a good thing that will benefit Missouri as our selling point is strong infrastructure.
Of course, we understand this also. It's a user tax, and there's something interesting in that bill is if you pay that tax, and you want a refund, you can certainly mail your receipts back to the state, and they will give you a refund on it. But it really is important for the state to have this money for the infrastructure of our highways, and without that, I mean, we're just going to continue to fall behind.
Right. And I apologize for not mentioning. You're absolutely right. For those people that are adamant that they're frustrated with the tax, they will have the ability to take receipts, submit them to the Department of Revenue, and get refunded on that tax increase. Not the original 17 cents that you're currently paying, but on that 12.5 cents increase.
Very good. And I guess something else that unique happened this year too, which was kind of unusual. It's a big thing up here, especially in North County, is the Medicaid expansion that was not funded. I know there's a lot of disappointment in that. I mean, can you maybe give
Yes. Why Medicaid expansion is so important is it helps fund your hospitals. In the North County area, you got the Christian Northeast and the smaller version Christian Northwest, and then DePaul Hospital. Then also this Medicaid expansion also helps a lot of these nursing homes. I know you have several, St. Sophia and Bentwood right there on Charbonneir. They were always very active in the legislature, but we have a crisis that is currently in the state of Missouri. Is there is a tax, and you're reading about it now, called the FRA, Federal Reimbursement Allowance. In the mid-'80s, when John Ashcroft was governor, we did not increase the state income tax, so we could not draw down the Medicaid dollars to offset the indigent care that hospitals were providing. So the hospitals came to Governor Ashcroft at the time and said, what if we implement a tax on ourselves? So if you would get a hospital bill and your insurance company would send it when you'd stay in Christian Northeast, and it would say FRA tax, they would tax themselves, in which the patients would pay the tax. They would use those dollars to draw down the federal dollars. It has to be renewed every other year just so that the legislature can make sure the money is being used efficiently. We have expanded it to prescription drugs and to nursing homes. It draws in a total of $4 billion of that so-called $36 billion budget for health care. If they don't pass this FRA tax, there is going to be a drastic cut in services at hospitals and at nursing homes come October 1st. So you'll see in the news a lot of the Republican leadership talking to the Republican governor about trying to come to some type of solution. Plus the fact that you have Medicaid expansion, which was passed by the voters, and the legislature, even though the voters said yes to it, said we're not funding it. So once again, I find it ironic. It's the courts that will decide, even though the people have voted on it. The legislature has failed to act upon it. So once again, they have punted to the courts to decide. So you're going to be reading about a lot of that action too, and several of the people who are affected by not funding Medicaid expansion.
And I think that's the disappointment that a lot of people are voicing, is the fact that it went to the vote of the people and the will of the people, and they still didn't fund it. I mean, and it's very frustrating to believe that something that passed statewide was not funded, and something that is so important, certainly to our area, is not going to be funded. And like you said, it could certainly hurt our medical field and our people needing medical aid.
Yeah,
so
it's same thing as highways. It's the infrastructure of healthcare, and you have to help hospitals fund the indigent, low-income care that so many people need, because later in life they don't have that insurance to help them.
Sure. So what? Anything else in Jeff City? It seems like those were really the three big things that happened this year.
Well, I do want to add on the Wayfair issue, I forgot to touch base on that, as probably a tool that is used a lot is called TIF, Tax Increment Financing. And what it is like in North St. Louis County, you have some dilapidated old storefronts, and you use the taxes that the new business will generate to offset the infrastructure improvements for that. Well, over the last 20 to 30 years, that has been abused. And a lot of TIFs were being used in Chesterfield and in St. Charles, more affluent, that really didn't need the tools. So in the Wayfair bill, they put stronger definitions for what blighted is. In economic development, people might say, well, you're hurting us because we can't use TIF. I think it helps the regions that truly need to use those incentives to do development, and which they were initially. Just on a history note, the very first TIF that was used in St. Louis County, I found ironic, was for the West Florissant overpass on 270 when they built the Clock Tower Shopping Center.
Okay.
Yes, that was actually the first TIF, and as you can see with all the infrastructure improvements, they're redoing that overpass. So I thought, God, that's kind of ironic. Just a little.
Of course, the old I-270 drive-in that you and I used to go to when we were younger.
Yes, that was a safe place to go on Friday
Yes,
nights.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, very good. Thank you for taking the time today to tell everyone how things are going in Jeff City. This concludes another edition of the Mayor's Minute. We are Florissant Strong. Thank you.